Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the Legal Capsule. This is Shreya Tripathy. I work with the Justice Access and Lowering Delays in India initiative at Vidhi.
Hi everyone, I'm Deepika Kinhal. I lead the JALDI initiative at Vidhi. Shreya and I are here today to discuss and deliberate on a historical event that we all got to witness yesterday. Three female judges, one of whom could potentially go on to become the first female Chief Justice of India, were sworn into the Supreme Court yesterday. This is a significant occasion for all of us from the legal fraternity and beyond. And more so for us at Jaldi, we have been calling attention to the deep gender disparity that exists in the judiciary at all levels. We have been doing this work for the last 4 years, and what we saw yesterday seems like a silver lining, something that is definitely a moment to celebrate and hopefully a first of several wins on this front. So while we do celebrate, we also realize that we have a long way to go.
Like I said, Deepika, even though we had three women judges being sworn in yesterday, this all in all leads to there being just four women judges in the Supreme Court. And historically, this number adds up to just 11 judges. This number is also reflected across all levels of the judiciary. A report published by Vidhi in 2018 discovered that only 28% of the judges in the lower judiciary are women. The corresponding numbers in the high courts was also about only 11%. So to understand the reason behind these numbers, we need to first understand the process of appointment of judges to the judiciary and especially to the higher judiciary. So firstly, what is the process of appointment of judges to the higher judiciary, and what is the reason behind so few women being appointed to the Supreme Court as judges?
Right. So when it comes to the process of appointment, we all are familiar with the term collegium. This makes newspaper headlines quite often. So we have a collegium system of appointment to the higher judiciary, and this collegium comprises of senior most judges at the high courts and the Supreme Court level. At the High Court level, the senior most eligible judges from the district judiciary and senior advocates from the bar are considered for elevation to the high courts. Now, in both these streams of candidates, on the one hand, judges from the district judiciary as well as senior advocates, the female representation is extremely low. In fact, as you mentioned, representation of women in district judiciary is slightly better than what we see at the bar. At least in the district judiciary, there are 28% female judges. But at the bar, especially when you look at senior advocates, there are hardly a handful of senior female advocates to choose from. So the pool itself that the collegium is considering at the high court level has very minimal female representation. And this systemic issue gets perpetuated as we go on to the higher levels of the judiciary. And as we go on from the district judiciary bar at that level, and then if we go to the bar in the High Court and the Supreme Court, the representation of women goes on deteriorating as we go up the ladder. And the same issue is further exacerbated in the Supreme Court, since at the Supreme Court collegium level, they are considering senior female judges across various high courts. And as Shreya mentioned, even at the high court level, the composition of female judges is just over 11% across all high courts. So it is fine for us to actually identify this as a structural issue, which pervades all levels of the judiciary. And this issue is also a self-perpetuating one, because there is no targeted intervention at any level to significantly increase the number of female candidates that are available to choose from. That is on one side of the equation. The other side is also the composition of the collegiums themselves. naturally, all the collegiums, most of the collegiums are male dominated. Up until now, only two female judges have made it to the Supreme Court collegium. So it might be fair to say that the collegiums are ensuring that they continue to remain elite male bastions of power, unless there is a targeted intervention that can be made by these collegiums going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point regarding the collegium, Deepika. And as you said, there have only been two women judges who have ever made it uh, to be part of the Supreme Court's collegium. However, going back to the positive news that we were discussing from yesterday, Justice Nagarathna's appointment has also made way for India to have its first Chief Justice, woman Chief Justice. And in 2027, Justice Nagarathna will most likely become the first woman Chief Justice, right? Albeit for a very short period of time. So we should further explore this aspect of it. What makes Justice Nagarathna's appointment significant, and what difference do we hope for with this increased representation of women in the judiciary?
Right. So the issue of gender diversity is mostly considered from an optics angle. But in my opinion, gender diversity is an end in itself that is worth aspiring for. Nobody needs to justify why we need more female representation in any walk of life or in any profession. And the same applies to the judiciary, both in the legal profession side as well as on the bench. There is no reason why the scales should be tilted in favor of any one particular gender. Having said that, with the judiciary, I think gender diversity has a larger role to play. It goes beyond perception issue, and it goes beyond being an end in itself. Of course, when it comes to qualification and competence, there is unlikely to be any great difference between male and female judges. However, thinking from the perspective of, say, a female litigant or a female victim, it is more likely that she will feel heard, she will feel comfortable, knowing that the institution that she is approaching has enough of her kind, that there are enough female judges who will perhaps take her case, or even if not, to know that the institution in itself represents the society that she is a part of. And this in itself can be empowering. Also, on the other side, judiciary, we know, has been espousing the cause of gender equality, empowerment of women in all aspects. By ensuring that there is gender diversity on the bench, it will essentially be walking the talk as an institution. So I think it is fairly important, and it is significant what we witnessed yesterday.
So, yeah, I think we have come to the most significant question now. What should the judiciary do going forward to course correct on gender disparity? A collegium resolution such as this one is getting so much attention only because this is the first time the judiciary has recommended 3 female judges in a single resolution. Our data shows that at least since 2017, only around 10% of the collegium recommendations have been women. So appointing multiple female judges to the higher judiciary cannot remain a one-off exercise, right?
You're absolutely right, Shreya. I think this much attention is being given to this resolution because it continues to remain an exception. In fact, adding on to the statistics that you just talked about, which is that the collegium resolutions have typically had only at best one name in each resolution. If we actually see the conversion ratio from recommendations to actual elevation, we see that it is essentially the same for both male and female candidates. Roughly around 55% of the recommendation get converted into actual elevations. While this might signal lack of gender bias, what it in fact illustrates is that there is no deliberate intention on the part of collegium to correct gender disparity. given the abysmal levels of representation, it should be an issue that the judiciary is very intentionally and mindfully willing to tackle. I think that is what is currently missing. We all know that collegium has fairly been an institution, a group that is not entirely transparent in its way of functioning. We don't yet know, for instance, the kinds of parameters that the collegium is guided by while making recommendations. I think this is the first step that it needs to make improvements on. It is high time that the collegium makes public the various indicators that it considers while recommending any candidate for elevation to the High Court or the Supreme Court. And as a part of that exercise, it needs to also deliberately include gender diversity as a principle that it will be guided by while making recommendations. I think only if such an intention is adopted will in the future uh, judiciary have greater gender representation. Um, Going beyond higher judiciary, I think there are again a lot of structural issues that needs changing. For instance, in the district judiciary, we need to ensure that there are more female judges that are entering the institution, and this is a creature of the way the parameters are set for elevation from civil judges, junior division to the district judges, who then ultimately form the pool from where the collegium chooses. So how can we ensure that more female candidates enter the institution and then get promoted across different tiers? And then we need to equally look at what is happening at the bar. Why are there so few female advocates that continue in the profession? We do know that a lot of women are graduating from law schools across the country, but why is it that there are so few advocates practicing before the courts? What is it with the litigation profession that needs changing? And how can we ensure that going forward there are more senior female advocates? So perhaps the legal profession needs to look at how there can be maternity benefits. Perhaps the judiciary needs to provide for fresh facilities on court premises. So there are several short to long term measures that can be taken that will ensure that there are a large number of female advocates, again, that the court can choose from to be appointed as judges.
So all in all, there is actually much to be hopeful about. However, we do want the collegium system and the recruitment process to be deliberately constructed such that it ensures gender diversity on the bench. And yeah, so we would like to end with a quote actually from Justice Ginsburg of the US Supreme Court, who said that when she was asked, when will there be enough women in the Supreme Court? And she responded with, when all 9 judges are women. People were shocked at this response, but her logic was very simple actually. She just said that there have been so many times that all 9 judges have been men. So why can't they be women as well? So similarly, hopefully in the Supreme Court of India as well, someday we will see all 34 judges as who would be women. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully, we gave you some interesting insights into the issue of gender diversity in the judiciary.